service. It's just, for some reason, like if I'm in the highway garage, I don't have service because of the metal building.
Yeah.
You go outside to make a phone call and it won't come up. You can drive down the road 5-10 miles, it still won't come up. You shut the phone off, turn it on, and then it comes up.
I've never had a broken Verizon around here.
Well, that's gotta be something with the phone.
Has to be.
But Pierce is the same way.
Yeah.
His shuts off randomly during the day, mine does.
Wow. Yeah, mine doesn't do that. I just have nothing. I have no service. I have to park at Home Depot if I want to call somebody at Lisbon to use their Wi-Fi. It's a Panera too. I have to park on the side closest to the door because I have to leech off their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, Eric said he was researching phones, I guess, and gonna make a switch, but I don't know. Haven't heard anymore.
Makes me feel better. It's not just me.
No, it's not.
So I think Eric's coming in.
Put the dog to the vet today. I just got back. And I came here. $607 just for a check. And his shot.
Hmm.
Heck, my mother's got 2 little ones and she complained every time she was taken.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you pay that much for a kid.
So I'm getting ready to start. Would you mind calling Eric, Lisa? Thank you. Here he comes. Well, maybe that's not him. That doesn't sound like. Well, there he is. Okay. Still 4 o'clock. That's
Sorry,
good.
Fred grabbed me right before.
Oh, no. Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn on the recorder. All right, we'll call to order this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on Thursday, February 16th, 2023 at 4 o'clock p.m. Roll call: Dana Bennett for Selectmen. To my left, Richard Matter, Selectman. Todd Babbitt, Selectman. We also have Eric Christensen, Finance Director. And we go to number 2, discussion and possible action on 2023-24 departmental budgets. And we have Ryan Aubin and Mike Morton. I was going to say Morton, but then I was afraid that I had the wrong name again. So come and sit and you can explain what you're
Training
doing.
opportunity.
That's great.
I like it.
All right. Quick. Grab one. Quick handout.
So what number is
Thank you.
5301? I found that. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess the big changes, I guess, for the budget is last year, remember, we tried going for a full timer. And it was advice that I got from the board is maybe you should think about another part timer instead of making a full-time position because the cost is so high. Benefits kind of is the same as salary, which is kind of crazy. So this year is the first year I'm going for adding on a part-time assistant. If you look on the budget, the role, it's more of a coordinator position. So the idea of is my job is big picture, future planning, creating the bigger events. The assistant position, which Mike is in now, is focused on the youth center. In the past years, that position was more outside the youth center plus the youth center, This year, our youth center enrollment has gone through the roof. To the point that we now have enough staff that we have to have, like right now, there's kids in the park with a staff member. There's kids upstairs, there's kids downstairs, in the youth center, outside in the front. It's very busy, which wasn't the way it was like 4 years ago. We used to have programs in the school, called youth center in the, after school in the school, which was enrichment programs like yoga and things like that. I would like to go back to that next year. But in order to do that, you kind of have to uproot my job, which is the big stuff, creating events and then creating programming. Mike has more than enough to do already. And the new position would actually be that person that would take over the role once I create it. So an idea is it's a seasonal position. I asked Eric for, some advice on it too, because if you look at our department, we have seasons of programming. Like you have, September school opens up, youth center is booming. A coordinator to do programming, for youth center kids and get after school in the school up and running would be great. And then that same person, or we could actually make it a short seasonal position, add a new seasonal position to help with basketball, which is a huge, huge program, 7 days a week. And then after basketball is over, now you can go back to enrichment after school in the school program. But basically it would take, right now I'm doing that and Mike's helping me a lot. I went from working 7 nights a week at basketball to working, basically my 5, which is nice. It hasn't happened in a very long time. I appreciate you guys hiring Mike, but just future planning. Again, we've been spinning our wheels for a long time, doing the same things, which are hugely successful programs, but we want to grow, and having that person that's a part-time seasonal position would help. That position also could roll over to summer camp and be a coordinator for summer camp. We call it a creative coordinator, but what that is creating programs like arts and crafts and, sports that are not strictly just dodgeball, like actually create different programs that person will now run. So there's a whole new capacity to that summer camp type program, which we never had before. Right now, we as directors kind of create the program and teach the teenagers how to, run it. But having a person that has the background, in this part-time role would help too. So that's the new, big ask. The sheet I handed out, basically saying like what the fees are going in, the grants we received. Keep in mind, this sheet doesn't include sponsorships coming in, for different programs. I didn't include that because every year that changes. But if you look at our budget request minus the revenues and the true cost of the taxpayers, 191,787, which is kind of a steal. It's a great program. We do a lot. We service a lot of people. But just keep that in the back of your mind when I'm asking for a part-timer to help us to grow the program. The other change is summer camp. It was 8 weeks. This year forward, we went to 7 weeks. And the reason for that, last year and the years prior, summer camp started the week after school was over, like boom. Here's the problem with that. A lot of our staff are teachers. They work in other school districts. I have a music teacher who's a supervisor. I have a first grade teacher who's a director. So last year, thank God for Mike, we kind of took on 2 to 3 roles of ourselves to run the program, which was great. But in the big picture, what we were going to do is offer a basketball summer camp. That's a contractual program. It's called the Hoop Academy. They were a trial last week, hugely successful. 40 to 50 kids signed up. We're expecting 80 to 100 this year. To take that first week, so now you're offering programming, which is a huge group, niche of who comes to summer camp, and it's about the same hours. But then we start the last week in June rather than that week prior, and we go all the way to what we usually do each year. So there's some cost, okay, again, reductions in there, but you don't see it in your part-time because we got a grant for the last 3 years, I believe, through the state. It used to be 25,000. Last year was 22,500. that paid for payroll. Whereas if we do get that again, and the reason I say if we, it was kind of a political grant that may not happen this year. It was just, they're trying to help out. If we do get that, that's great. It gets deposited into the town. It's in our programming cost already. If we do get it, but I don't want to hold my, weight out on Hartford to hear from that. But that's why, if you look, the salaries didn't go down, is because I had to include that grant that we got the last 3 years in there. Because it's all staffing. That's what that was for. And then you'll see there's some things that moved around for summer camp. We're trying to add a middle school program, which is field trips are included. If you go back before COVID, field trips were always part of our budget. We never took it out of our budget. We just put it into guest performers, so people would come to us. So we didn't lose that money. Now it just goes right back to the way it used to be. The only difference is we used to bring the entire camp, so elementary through middle school. Because of costs, which Mike is working on for me now, field trips have increased in the last 4 years, maybe doubled, if not tripled in some situations. We're only taking the middle school, which is in there too. So that's why some of the line items changed, a little bit more and some a little less than others, but it's because it's cost of summer camp.
Go ahead.
Eric, is the extra person in FICA and all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said the coordinator was seasonal. I mean, we have seasonal employees that we used to hire, but you've got it for 14.5 hours a week, times 52 weeks. That's
Right.
not seasonal, it's full-time, part-time.
Yeah, but like my question to Eric was, can we divide this up into different positions based on the season? So it's not one person, but it's like, if I need a person that does basketball, you have to have a certain skill set and basically experience to run a basketball program. Whereas a person who does an enrichment after school program, like an art program, wouldn't have.
Yeah, but wouldn't we be more under part-time payroll at that time, if we're gonna hire up to 4 different people possibly?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, I just.
And how would that work for people to be hired? Do you think that you could get somebody that was seasonal and then get somebody that was seasonal here, and then that original person that did the basketball season, would they come back for the basketball season?
I guarantee basketball we could, because I know coaches that would love to do that, like that have been doing it for years. And the one that's in the air though is like Plainfield Recreation dealt with this too, is your seasonal enrichment programmers. It's like a college, you need like a college type person that's going maybe for that degree. To find somebody who is, maybe retired, they haven't had luck that way. I'm hoping that could be a situation, but that is the only thing I really don't know for sure. Basketball, I'm sure we could get somebody. So I guess the big picture is, if you want one person working 52, weeks a year, that person would have to have a mixed experience of working with kids, working in a recreational setting, working in a camp-like setting, and then knowing how to run like a basketball program. Which I'm not saying there isn't a person like that out there. I just don't know of anybody. But yeah. And again, everybody can be taught too. So if you have the right personality, and you probably could make that connection, teach that person about basketball, what they're looking for.
So tell me again, how are you doing the summer recreational now? Who does the enrichment?
The enrichment right now, we create the whole program from a clean slate. Every year we create everything. So like, it depends on the program. We create it's 5 activity blocks, and then there's 3 to 5 options based on the age. And the kid's a free will program, so the kid gets to choose what they want to do. So they basically build their own program throughout the day, but it's us as directors. We create the curriculum.
Okay, so you don't have somebody that does that now. It's you doing it. Okay.
Yeah. this person would kind of just give us an extra hand, help and experience and point of view on what we could include that we're missing.
Mhm.
But again, we have a great team as it is.
When you said four people,
Mhm.
what would be the months for these four people?
What's that, for the position, to the part-time position,
Yeah.
not summer camp, right?
Well, summer camp, that's
That's part.
that's part,
that'd be
that's
one of them.
3 week, or that's 3 months.
Yeah, I would
What's-
think I would think September when school starts, going to November. November basketball season starts, runs to April 1st. And then April, going to May or June, and then June, summer camp takes over.
And there'd be a part timer in summer camp too.
Yeah, the same role would actually be working, but again, it's 19.5 hours. So I couldn't say like this is now,
19 or 14.
14.5 hours, sorry.
So out of those four, which two are the most important?
Definitely basketball,
Mhm.
definitely school session.
Okay.
So basically up to June 24th, I think is the last week.
What was the reason for the big increase in telephone?
Well, telephone went up for one, and then he got the additional camera now in the skate park.
Oh, okay. What about wages? What's the percentage? That the union percentage, it looks a little high.
Cause it's really 2 years for
Same thing.
director and the assistant,
Okay,
cause last year we had a flat, cause the contract wasn't, cause if you look at 21-22 and 22-23, they're the same. Cause the contract wasn't finalized, so that's 2.5%.
So here you have a total of 209,000. So does that 209,000 come off of this?
It's just revenue in.
That's
right?
revenue in,
Mhm.
right? So is that 209 already off of this total?
Mhm.
No, so you're expecting that to
Mhm.
offset some of the
which
total,
could equal this.
right? Right,
But not all that will, Ryan, because the grants, some of them go through the youth fund, not through.
All right,
General
the
fund.
ones deposited straight through, yeah,
I have a question on the revenues though, Ryan.
sure.
You have for fees 153,905.
Mhm.
So should we be reducing that? Is that because summer rec is one last week? Because this year we budgeted 175,
175.
and the year before we had 182.
Yeah, but we raised that during COVID, right? Because we needed more people with the
Yeah.
things we had to put in place, I think. So
Yeah.
A couple of years, we allowed more staff to cover the COVID.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the revenues
Okay.
of what people
Mhm.
pay.
What I'm expecting, so our max capacity is 176 kids.
Yeah.
Our break even point is 140 kids, and that's at 130, and again, that doesn't include non-residents. So if you. I mean, I'm guessing we'll be well over that, if you want to average out what.
What do you
it'd probably be
think you're
160.
gonna have for, so
Once-
that's summer camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
160.
then what about basketball?
Basketball is always about 19,000, 20,000.
So what should we be budgeting?
So I would say 20,000 for basketball, and then 160 times 130.
Eight.
160 times 130 is 20,800.
Would say-
Is that a week?
Yeah, times 7.
So. So that'd be 145.
Yeah, plus I would say 20,000 for
So
that.
should we just keep it at 175?
Yeah.
All right.
I also anticipate basketball to go up next year because we're adding on a travel league.
Any other questions?
And if the program coordinator does get approved, I would come to you guys to ask for advice on what we should do forward, because you guys been hiring him much more than I am. So again, it's just an idea of having different people for that position. But if it's something that you think we should go for one person for the whole year, I'm okay with that too. I just know we would need somebody, we need help. That's all, the only thing I know. Especially if we want to grow. If you want to stand still where we are now and have this running again another year, that'll happen too without the position.
A lot of, in my opinion, a lot of this hinges on if we get any guidance from the Board of Finance. We've got nothing yet, so
Okay. Okay,
we may have to
Right,
go back and make cuts based
Yeah.
on their
Mhm.
guidance. I don't know, at least.
yeah. Makes sense.
okay. Anybody else have any questions? Christian's okay, Todd, are you okay?
Yep.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
both.
Thank you very much.
For having us.
Thank you.
Anytime, have a good day.
Oh, while we're waiting, I will hand a few things out.
More.
Well,
Thank you.
this was based on a handwritten list of expenses I received today, so I'm not gonna have any information when they come to present, because I don't know. I know about as much as you.
Oh,
What's today?
wow.
Put revision dates on, so I can keep it straight.
Yeah.
I have some more revisions for
And
you.
I take them all, take them out. And put them
I
in
don't,
another,
because
another
sometimes
folder.
sometimes I like to go back.
Yeah, they would change.
Yeah,
So I have a few more that were revised. The first one I'll give you is legal.
like,
This was revised because today I got the probate budget. And there are letters in there too. No, it went up almost 10%. Or yeah, pretty close. Next one I have is 1801. This is for the maintenance of the town building. Based on the estimates that we got, I took the fencing, the additional amount for fencing out. Because I think I have a alternative way that we can fund that if we figure out what we're gonna do.
Right, and probate, that's per capita.
Yeah. And the last one, this is for highway. I know Todd had mentioned the safety training. Not sure what happened there. It shouldn't have been 200, so I corrected it. That was my error. I think I copied over the wrong number. So I updated that. I think he brought that up at the last meeting.
Yeah, I brought it up to ask you about it. So contractual and temporary, is that a minimum wage thing? Do you know?
What is that for?
Registrars? Is that due to that? Cause I know we've had some increases due to minimum wage.
No.
Okay.
That is. That's their part-time people, but
Yeah,
I'm,
it's-
I'm assuming that's. Way higher because of the early voting. Being passed,
Okay,
but like I said. I received all those numbers just written. On a piece of paper with nothing. Today, so I didn't even have a chance to. Ask questions or anything, so
hopefully we'll have some information on early voting with the.
nobody
There's
knows
no
yet.
information
Yeah,
yet.
there, yeah.
Nah.
No, I think that,
Maybe that group had been in a loop maybe or something, but.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So if we. Were to flat fund that. We would have to change it if. Something went into place. Are we better off to supplement it later, as we know?
Because it's 18,000, so the Board of Finance can do 20.
And then
I mean, I'm just,
by the time we go out, I'm hoping, I know the Secretary of State is saying she wants legislation. To be passed by March 31st to give towns ideas. So I'm hoping that's the case. Lamont didn't include any funding in his budget for early voting. But I know a lot of the people up in Hartford are pushing for it. To give towns money because
but I guess
it's an additional
what
expense.
I'm asking you is, do you think we should put an increase now, or should we wait? And supplement it? I know.
In
you're
my
saying-
opinion, I would probably wait. Because. Wait to find out, are they gonna fund it? Because if that's the case, we can increase the salaries and we can increase the revenues. Because I don't envision. Our costs going way up with the state. Not giving us anything for it.
Yeah, I would think if the state is the one promoting it, they would have some kind of share. in
Just
it.
because I know especially Secretary of State, she was saying this shouldn't be all passed on to the towns, so. And a lot of the key legislators up there are saying the same thing, so I'm hoping. If we do have to pay that extra expense, at least we'll get some of it. Funded, but who knows?
Well, I mean, there's, two ways to approach it, present it like it is, or go to the Board of Finance and say. This is likely to change. We don't know how much at this
Mhm.
point, but we may have to supplement it based on state
Yeah.
guidelines.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you like to be conservative, but. Yeah,
But in this
I don't
case,
surprise anybody either,
I think that we're not gonna have to bear the full cost of it.
So that election supplies are the same thing, and it's for that
I
early
have no
voting.
idea. I have no idea.
I mean, postage, I mean, everything.
I don't know.
I guess we could let them know we're ready, Lisa. I know they should be here in about 3 minutes, but. I don't know if Lisa's out there. Yeah,
Yeah, she's
Okay.
there.
please.
Hey, they're ready if you want, they're ready if you want to go over. Yep, already.
See, next year's see, it's next year's. It's 23, so 24, so it's not presidential.
Yeah, it is a presidential election in 24. Yeah.
24,
but
not 23.
Oh, not for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No problem.
I'm like, okay, we can do this.
Even if you were to get rid of it.
The introductions,
This is Ethan Stone, he's a student at Griswold High, he's here to observe.
got that? Okay, guys. Please bear with me. If you find any boo-boos, blame the typist. And it's not me, no, I've never done a PowerPoint presentation myself, so. Does he want one? I wasn't talking. All right, Jennifer, get up here. You know you're gonna be asked questions.
That's fine, I'm right here.
Okay, this is something that Jennifer and I kind of put together. Hopefully it's gonna be helpful. Sorry it was so late, Eric. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with us because it's been kind of crazy. When you're looking at the figures, I do ask to please keep in mind, we're anticipating the early voting. At the meeting I was at today, they're saying it's more than likely going to be the beginning of the year. Originally, I heard they were going to try and sneak it in for this November. So we're anticipating what's going to happen, whether we do it now or we do it later, but we'd rather be ready because when the state's ready to go, we need to be ready to go. So you will see increases in there. And basically what our goal is to continue to provide exemplary service and to meet the needs of the public. Basically, like I said, we like to maintain the good image that Griswold has, not being known elsewhere. We keep our own little community here. So we want to stay in compliance with everything. One thing that we do feel as though we're going to be needing in the very near future is some additional equipment. Also something to keep in mind. When we go on, we're going to see that there are some increases here, contractual and temporary. ELCC, that has gone up a little bit as we are anticipating, obviously, more hours for our workers, just spread out a little differently, more hours for our registrars, our deputies, and our assistant registrars. We're kind of basing it on like a $5,000 per election day. And then kind of budgeting for 3 days of early voting. That may be changed. Originally, when Stephanie Thomas, Secretary of State, came out with her announcement, she talked about 3 days. The meeting I was at today, and they're talking 10 days.
So there are about 7 different proposals in front of the legislature right now. The Secretary of State has proposed 10 days of early voting. But the likelihood that that's going to get passed before June, it will probably end up either at the end of session or in the implementer, which means I doubt we're going to have anything this particular calendar year, but it's possible that they add days onto next year's, maybe for the referendum or anything that we have before the end of this budget cycle. So we were very hesitant to add anything, but we did add 3 days just in case something happens as early voting, but the rest of it is $5,000 per election.
But with early voting, do you need as many employees?
Yeah, they still have to be cut, well, still, so it depends. The different proposals are proposing it to be anywhere from weekend days to the same as we normally have, but just in advance of election day. So because we don't know what that makeup is gonna be, or how many days and hours it's going to be, we just said, well, let's just account for 1 election day as being 1 election day. And if we need less, we'll use less. But if we need more, we'll have to come back to you. But I doubt that's gonna be this budget cycle. I think it's gonna be more 24, 25.
So the proposal is early voting. Some days, don't know what,
We know
but
we're gonna get. it.
early voting, and it's not by absentee, it's by a machine.
So it depends what they come up with. It could
What-
be,
it could be,
it could be several different things. It could just be more absentee. It could be actual. The way that,
machine,
the way that Constitution is now changed, it's early in-person voting. So I can only imagine based on that language, that it's gonna be the same as we normally do for in-person voting.
So then how do you manage the tabulator? Every night you lock it up and?
So we don't know that. That's gonna
Tape it
come
up,
up,
that's
that's
gonna
gonna
be-
come with legislation. That's why we advocated for a little more money in maintenance and repairs, because I'm not sure that those tabulators are going to be able to stand all of this extra work. So I don't think that's gonna be a difference, because we typically take everything down and lock it up. The only thing that was gonna happen is we're gonna have to figure out space-wise where to have it, where the equipment that's not tabulators and things that go home with us can stay safe and secure.
the tabulator would continue,
Don't know yet.
We don't know.
Don't
or,
know if they're
or
gonna-
would it be each day, count each
That's
one?
just it. Don't know
Yeah.
yet.
We don't know. The likelihood that they're gonna do it by day is gonna be problematic only because it tells you the results by day. And I don't know that they want anybody to know that
Hmm.
information.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm not sure how that's gonna play out.
We're all in a fog right now. We don't know until they tell us, until it all passes. So what we're trying to do is we're just trying to plan ahead. Plan for the worst, I guess you might say.
I don't think it's gonna affect the primaries this year or the November election. If it passes this year, we
Next year.
may see something for a referendum, possibly for next year, but I really doubt that they have enough time to stand it up and get us all trained statewide for any of that to actually happen.
This year
For
or
this
this,
fiscal year.
this fiscal year. The
So we didn't necessarily change anything from our actual budget request. There, you'll see two separate columns on the spreadsheet I made. That's just our regular budget. And then there's a column for EV for early voting. Those are the extras that we anticipate potentially needing for early voting. So I separated out so that you guys can kind of see what we're looking for an actual budget and what we're looking for in addition to EV.
And I do believe after speaking with Eric today that the FICA is gonna be more than 4,000.
Go ahead, Todd. I see it coming.
Well,
And
I was
Richard
gonna
as well.
ask Eric, are we better off to separate a line item for early voting that we could always supplement?
That's what, the way I'm reading your spreadsheet is 22,505, right? For early voting?
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm. That's if you go with what we're asking for, which is just 3 days of early voting, plus additional mileage potentially for any poll workers that have to be trained.
For the whole
moderators.
year, but
Yeah, for the whole fiscal year, yeah.
I mean, because that way we can show the true cost of what it's costing us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's just my thought. I don't know, Eric, what your, for finances, I mean, what's your,
I mean, you could, it just would get a little messy on the budget sheet, but
Can you do it temporarily for this fiscal year and then next fiscal year, do it out again like this?
yeah, or even in the notes on the side can put how much is the result of the early voting.
Sure.
okay,
Yeah.
so we could note it somewhere. That's what I was trying to. get
Yeah,
at,
yeah.
is-
just get it.
Yeah, I
separated.
can put that in the notes.
So
And I wouldn't mind that
transparent, people
because that
see
would
it.
give us a good idea for early voting, what we're spending in a fiscal year.
Well,
Because that would help us budget for future years,
Yeah,
if we know
future.
exactly what we're using for early voting.
My goal is just so the taxpayer reviewing the budget can see what it's gonna
Yeah.
cost us to really
Yeah.
vote, potentially.
yeah,
I think it's important for
Mhm,
them to
Absolutely.
see that.
But then again, they may regret if they voted for it or against it.
Well,
Can't do that.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to justify if they know it's a mandate we gotta do and we see that versus just an increase without an explanation.
Agreed.
And the 5200F is for the travel. And that's to account for the mileages to the conferences, back from the conference, conventions, whatever. As well as our local travel the day of election. Meeting and dues. Unfortunately, everybody knows everything's going up, so there was a slight increase in that. Not by much.
And we allocated for just 3 more moderator trainings for individuals, just to get anybody that's interested trained up for early voting, because we're gonna need moderators for every day.
The ideal plan would be to have the same people doing it all week long, but I know that's not gonna happen. That would be ideal.
Unless they do,
Unless they want to, unless they
the,
want to.
the absentee type ballot system.
That still needs a moderator though.
It still needs to have a
Yeah.
moderator present.
But this just, I added only $250 for the fiscal year, just for extra training, just if we need it for early voting. It could be that we won't need it until the next fiscal year. But I wasn't sure, and with no actual law to go by yet, I figured it'd be better to account for it and not need it.
Yeah, figured. Okay, I thought you were figuring for a
No,
question.
calculating the salary increase, make sure we're in line with everything else, everybody's budget.
We're going into an even year, so we are going to be having our annual canvas. That's $150 is what we're allocating. We usually allocate about 100. Everything's going up. Election supplies. Basically, we all kind of know stuff gets old, needs to be refurbished, some items. But this not only does the equipment, it also incorporates your ballots. Our ballots have increased, I think it was what,
They're
6
40
cents?
They're 40 cents each ballot now.
Depending upon what, how many you order. Yeah, it's gone up almost, it was either a nickel or 6 cents in 2 years. The coding of the cards, again, if we do early voting, we may have to get more cards, which means additional coding and so on. All this, there's just so much into it. Postage, we all know postage just went up. Plus, we will be having the canvas, so there will be additional postage there. And service contracts and leases on the 5406, they have gone up. Not too much higher, but they do keep creeping up a little bit.
And with early voting, we're gonna use those machines even more. So I did allocate an extra $200 just for maintenance or repairs, just in case we need to have them come out for election day or something else to service them.
Right now, it's supposedly in our contract. It's not supposed to cost us anything, but that doesn't mean with all this extra. The last time I talked to Ryan, and he'll actually be here on next week, he was saying that they were having difficulty getting those rollers, so they may be encouraging people to get away from using the tabulator, that style, and do something else. And the poll books.
And there is a bill out there to replace all of our equipment, new tabulators. But they're talking that that's gonna be about $1 million. So it was not included in the governor's budget, so it would have to go to appropriation. And I have not seen that bill come before legislature yet to discuss. But even if they do it, it's gonna be a couple of years out before all of it can be replaced.
And then 5125D, it's basically from the prior budget, that's basically us now. Yeah, yes, us. Anticipating, once again, if we get early voting, we got a lot more work ahead of us. It's not easy now, it's going to even be more time consuming then. And we are required by state to have all this training. We have to go to these things. We have to do it. It's all time consuming. And like I said, that's where that is.
The only other change to payroll for employees is that I did recommend that our deputies who get a $600 a year stipend. I actually talked to my deputy about having office hours and being in the office every month. So I did allocate in here $1,500 a year for a stipend, but that would require them to actually come into the office and do work and be able to step up for early voting, because they're gonna be called on a lot more to be more available and be more involved than they have been.
And I personally, on my side, do now have an assistant registrar. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to discuss that in the future. To be able to compensate him a little bit as well, or whoever we have as assistant registrar, so she gets one as well. Because we're gonna need the extra manpower or women power. That's about it. Unless you have any other questions.
And there's a possibility that the state will offset some of these early voting costs. But again,
Nothing yet.
until they come out with that number, I don't know what it's gonna be, and I don't know what form it's gonna come in and what fiscal year it's gonna come.
But the likelihood could be starting January.
The likelihood is probably gonna, they'll probably go with the next actual, like, real election, which isn't gonna be until next November.
Oh,
But between now and then, we have our November municipal election.
yeah.
We also have budget referendum and anything else that might come up that would require a vote.
But what they were saying today was a recommendation has been made to the state to possibly have us do this in advance of the November so that we're all practiced,
Not gonna.
prepared.
It won't happen
So,
for this November. It won't happen.
Not for this year.
Next. November.
Next, yeah.
For the
So that's-
presidential, absolutely.
They're saying probably at the beginning.
Yes, for the presidential, absolutely.
There's just too much unknown right now with this whole thing.
Questions?
I like the spreadsheet. I mean, it shows
And I tried.
what's gonna be, what's gonna be for early voting.
And you'll see some of the calculations off to the right and the bottom, so you can see if you want to manipulate any of them on your own, you'll know what we use to calculate those numbers. You want to increase, decrease, stay the same, doesn't really matter, but at least you'll see where we got those numbers from.
So we're supposed to have 40 privacy booths.
Yeah.
We couldn't even fit
No.
that in a meeting room.
Well, we talked about that. You have to have one for every 250.
We're
voters.
hoping to be able to have a meeting in the near future with you guys to be able to discuss possibly the school on a regular basis.
And the line wouldn't even move fast enough to take up half of them.
To be on, but the state law says we have to have one for every 250. And I think we may be able to accommodate that with, Cindy says we have a couple over at Patchogue Town Hall that we might be able to use. So that this might not be an issue.
I
but-
think we've got like 34, but we've got some that may need repairs.
The postage line in America, we had on our sheet 53.55.
Yeah, the sheet I was given today had 53.55,
That's
so it
good.
looks like I'm gonna have to
The
change
cost
it.
of the early voting,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
I don't know if we want to back that down to 2,000.
Yeah, we put 25.
I apologize.
Well, she's got 78.55,
Right, so
Total.
somehow we gotta acknowledge
Yeah.
something there.
so I'll change it to 78.55.
You already explained the FICA here was 4,000, but you adjusted it, so I was just looking where the difference was in the total there, total here.
I have 53.86.
Yeah.
We had done it separate and then Jen tried to combine it all together. And then I'm not very talented on the computer, so I kind of hand wrote it for Eric this morning so that he'd at least have a sheet for you folks.
So all the numbers in the early voting column will be in notes here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Any other questions? No, Richard, good. Han,
No,
okay,
I'm good.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you want to scoot out of here for a couple minutes, we're getting ready to go down to the lottery in 10 minutes. If
Great.
you want to come observe,
Thank you.
yeah. Scotty doesn't always want to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alright. So. Next on our agenda, number 3,
Oh,
oh,
hang on.
you don't want to go yet?
I was gonna break the bad news to you.
No.
Well, now that
Leave it
we've
for-
heard
leave it for the-
everybody. I was gonna tell you what we're at for an increase.
Counting this one here,
No, well, it counted everything except for that postage that they gave me the
oh,
wrong number.
okay,
The general government operating budget is at a 7.41% increase.
7.41.
And I put together this list, highest to lowest, the increases per line item. Some of these are combined within departments. But just to give you an idea on where all these come from, all the shaded ones, I kind of considered we don't have a choice. These are what they are. They're either contractual cost or things we have to pay NECOG, so things like
Are you
that.
saying fuels and fluids aren't necessary?
I mean, it is, but
I'm just asking.
We're watching from now on.
Are we going electric?
Snow
I mean-
shovels.
I'm just trying to say contractual costs pretty much are shaded. Gas, I mean, yeah, we don't really have a choice there either. But. So that consists of 96% of our increase. 372,000 out of the 389.
So.
I mean,
Does this include debt service or no?
No, this is just
Just general, okay.
no debt service, no capital.
You have those numbers or not yet?
I do.
I mean, there's nothing here,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
That's what I'm saying.
and nothing. I mean,
But
there's
it's
there's a
like-
dollar here and a dollar there.
In this,
The other numbers, because you know where the cut's gonna come.
and this assumes that all the contributions are flat funded.
Right.
Every one of them asked for an increase,
Well, naturally.
but I assume that given the state we're in, I can't see how that can even be justified, given anyone more than, you know. So now we're at 7.46 with that increase in postage. Capital is a 3.79% increase.
What was it, 7.46?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
capital is set 3.79%. And debt service is 5.36%.
And that is due to the recent referendum, or is that other things?
Not just that, because I assumed we are not gonna do the bond until after the fiscal year starts. So I only have one interest payment in there for next fiscal year.
Okay.
Debt service.
Did they find any grants out there for that?
I don't think so. Yeah, so that difference is basically for the field. That 5.67% or whatever it was.
5.36.
Yeah. Yeah. Which isn't as bad as it would have been if we did the bond before
Oh,
June
yeah,
30th.
absolutely. Yeah. But next year's.
So this kind of eases it in where we'll have one interest payment next year. And then the following year we'll have two interest payments in principal.
You didn't break that down with that 5.36 comes out to dollar wise, did you?
Yeah. For debt service.
Yep.
118,251. And for interest on the field, I have at 125,000 right now,
And that's how many percent?
5.36.
5.36.
36.
What's your feeling on the Board of Finance? They're meeting next week, right? You think they're gonna give any guidance or?
I don't know, I'm gonna ask them.
'Cause I think
if
that's
we
gonna-
can have some guidance.
I think that's. gonna
What do you
depend
cut?
on- Well, I think that's gonna depend on
Mhm.
what we decide, based on if they give us guidance. If they
Mhm.
don't,
Right.
then
And it's hard to really know, because we don't have the grand list, so we can't,
is there any indication when we're gonna have the grand list?
it's supposed to be by the end of the month, because
Yeah.
she got a 1 month extension.
Right.
But, I don't know,
So you probably won't have it for the Board of Finance, so that's gonna be a variable for them also.
yeah. But I mean, just look at all the things that have come in, probate almost 10%. You know, all the NECOG was up quite a bit,
Mhm.
probably almost around 10%.
Yeah, I mean, it's all services that we contract,
Yeah,
or we have to contract.
Yeah. insurance, they're saying 10%.
Health district was up.
That was not bad,
No,
actually. It
but
was
it was
only
still up a little.
3%, 2.79, I think. But yeah, everything. I mean, things are. More expensive, not just for people at home, for us too, you know,
Right.
it's.
But you're looking at, if you look at just the white lines here. For the increase, it,
And like Todd said, gas, yeah, I don't have in as a fixed cost, but we gotta buy gas.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we won't plow roads.
well, it's gonna go up.
And we tried going up more in gas last year and Board of Finance cut it down. And the problem is, regular gasoline did come down, but diesel's still.
Yeah, yeah.
Stayed high.
Well, same thing with heating oil. They said we were ridiculous going up 50%, remember?
Hmm.
That's what we did last year
Mhm.
because it was so volatile.
Yeah,
We didn't know where it was gonna come in.
but I mean, most of our trucks are diesel.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I don't know where you guys were thinking you wanted to come in at. But I put some at the bottom of that sheet. I put some numbers in there for if you wanted to get to a certain percentage, how much would need to be cut. But now you can add 2,500 to those numbers.
So
for
the,
that Postage,
this number, like the top one is 47,000. That's what we have to cut
to get to
Mhm.
6.5%.
to get to 6.5.
Yeah, but make a note on there plus 2,500.
Yeah,
We have to cut, let's see, 49. 50,100 to get down to that.
To get down to 6.5.
How much is, I'll have to go back and look at the budgets. How much of that is like fuel expense? That's based now on actuals versus what we projected. You know what I mean?
So I just figured I'd give this to you to kind of paint a picture of where we're at.
And the big one is health insurance.
Yeah, and that could come down. We don't know. They're gonna give us another estimate at the end of the month. And then they're gonna finalize it in April. But they were saying. It should be 8 to 10%, but they said budget 10% for now and. Maybe it can come down a little bit. And the problem too is. We had. A couple people that. Were single, went to family, so I mean, that bumped it up quite a bit too.
What about our workman's comp insurance? Where did that come in? Was that up? I don't remember.
But yeah, it's up a little bit, yeah. But again, that's an estimate too. I haven't got final numbers on the insurances.
So does the Board of Finance get some of this information as far as,
Not yet,
But
not
no.
until you guys finalize your budget.
okay,
And I'll tell them that, things are high and we're working toward. Trying to come in reasonable, but. with the cost of everything going up for us.
Technology maintenance, a lot of that was, cyber protection, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one thing that we put in there too is $5,000 for the new wide format, like the map printer.
Yep.
Sounds like 16 years old and having all kinds of problems with it. Definitely need a new one of those.
And that would be leasing it or
No, it's to buy it.
could buy it.
Yeah. We could look at leasing one. But the other portion, yeah, like this year, we're well over budget for technology because of cyber. We're gonna anyway. Because our insurance carrier made us add a bunch of stuff.
Well, based on what's going on, I mean.
Yeah,
That's the way it is today.
Is there anything here where that we could save some money, even in the colored areas?
Finance and accounting, is that the audit?
Yeah, and
That's the new requirement.
every other year, we have to do the OPEB report, which is about 8,000-9,000. That's why that's up.
The state MS4 program, is that going out for bid?
I gotta talk to Mario because with
I mean,
the Capital Region Council of Governments,
you
they
mentioned
have
that,
CLA. But I wanna make sure we're getting
the price
that
that,
price. But Mario, I asked him and I haven't heard back, so.
Well, the requirements changed quite a bit for reporting now. I've been working with him and the gentleman from the engineering firm on different things. And
Yeah, I just want to make sure CLA is giving us that bid price.
because he rounded it off to 30K,
Yeah, but I
it
think
was-
the estimate was 28.5.
28.5.
So I would say put it in at 28.5.
I mean, it's still, few bucks.
Mhm, mhm.
We still don't have any idea what the senior center is gonna come in for utilities.
No, I know.
only good thing is we might get revenue with the sale of the old alternative school.
Some. Do you have any equipment to sell? Public Works? Anything?
We'll be having the old pickup, but I don't think you're gonna get one. $800 or $1,000 for it, it's pretty rotten.
Hey, it's $1,000.
What happened with the white senior center van, that old one? Wasn't there an old one that was parked down here?
The old one, we sold to Volantown for $1.
The gray one?
No, the old white bus before we got this. one. It needed new air conditioning, new hoses in the upper part, and it had to be recertified.
But the one that has been sitting out here and was sitting out
That's
there
the
2
new-
months
that's up
ago.
there. That's up to the new center.
They have a new one now? Oh, the old white one is up
Yeah,
there? Okay,
I thought you meant the one before that.
No,
That
no, I meant the
replaced.
old white
No,
one.
That's up there.
so are we gonna be able to sell that? Or what
I
are we
thought we
doing
were
with
gonna
that
give it
one?
to
No,
the rec.
No, they're
Maybe the
gonna
blue one.
they're replacing a blue one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're replacing the small van.
Okay,
They're waiting for delivery. They said January, February. But
Yeah, here we still don't have it.
They were waiting for the chips, the Ford product, and we ordered that 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, at least.
We were up at the Cape when we ordered it. It had to be done by the deadline.
So will they keep the old white one and they'll keep the new one, or is the old white one?
The
Drivable?
white one is a 16-passenger bus. That's staying.
Okay,
The one that's being replaced is a small blue Dodge Caravan.
okay,
Mhm.
And then that will go to.
I see. All right, gotcha. Well, this is gonna take a while to look at and try to figure out how we're gonna possibly.
Yeah, and the other thing
Shave
we're
things
gonna have
up.
to look at is contributions, flat funding.
yeah, but
Yeah,
that's not
With
much.
the situation we're in, I can't see.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's what we gotta do, we should.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Look
Yeah.
through them and say, yeah, we agree, we're gonna flat fund them.
Right.
You know,
But I don't think that does much for us, right?
flat funding.
Not
Do
as
nothing.
far as this goes, because
No.
I already assumed flat funding. I mean, you guys can do what you want, but I was just trying to see, okay, if we don't count contributions, what is our operating budget really at? So I kind of took that out of the equation,
Mm.
because I wanted to see where we were with everything else.
So what do we want to do for an additional meeting? If we meet
I thought you said March,
on March 9th, is that good enough then to
Well, I
start?
think Richard's got
Going
to.
with
I gotta run down to the car. I didn't bring the phone. in.
Okay,
But
so let's
It's-
aim
it's-
for that, and we have time to look at this then, and
it's a Thursday. you
it
said?
is Thursday.
Yep.
2:30,
I would think that there's no problem.
okay. So anything else? Any
No,
other
just if
good
we're
news?
gonna- We're gonna
Oh, go
plan
ahead.
on meeting that day. If you get any information, if you could email all of us, Board of Finance guidance, or
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
I think it's important too, if they decide what they're doing with the funding for the field, if they're gonna take something out of surplus or not, and maybe that's an option for some of the.
but that's not gonna
offset.
make much of
But
a
that won't
difference.
help us.
Yep, will help us if they don't take out of it, maybe we could take something off some
Yeah.
budgets.
Mhm.
It's,
mm-hmm,
you know, there's a lot of variables, I think, right now with what's gonna happen. So,
Mhm.
The more we can get before we meet on the 9th will probably be better. Instead of getting it,
Yeah.
last minute. So.
anything else? All
Is the
right.
cap,
Oh,
one
there's something
thing,
else.
yeah. Capital improvement. Are they gonna meet? Well, this month?
No,
They're not gonna meet this month
they're not
What-
gonna meet until they're
Till the board-
instructed to
by,
cut the budget if
Okay.
they are, yeah,
so,
because they've presented to you guys, so now. They're basically done until they're
Right.
instructed. To make any cuts.
is. We can. Can we recommend? To the we can recommend to the CIP. To. Cut certain things.
If you guys wanna recommend it, you can.
I think what we've tried to do in the past is recommend a dollar amount and let them,
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a specific item.
yeah. I mean, typically the Board of Selectmen will put it through as is and let Board of Finance make that decision, but you got every right to propose your budget too.
Do we? Or after the Board of Finance meeting, if you have information, can you forward stuff on the school budget?
As far as what they have.
Yeah, just there. It might be on their website, I haven't looked.
Yeah, right now, the last one I saw was like 5.71%. But that was just their fixed cost budget. Then they were gonna put together a special request budget, which I'm assuming would be more, I don't know. They haven't put that one up there yet.
Just so I can get a look at the whole picture, not just our side,
Mhm.
you know, what are we looking at the taxpayer, I mean. That's where my
well,
concern
there's.
is.
5% is nothing. I mean, that's. A lot compared to our 5%.
Yeah, cause your increase is 389,000. Theirs is like 1.6 million or something.
Mhm.
Without the special request.
Do you know, I heard,
Oh, boy.
I know. That they have a reserve fund. They shouldn't. But I heard they did.
Not that I'm aware of. They tried to get one, but the Board of Finance said no.
I don't see how they. Could.
Because a lot of Board of Eds do have the non-lapsing fund, where at the end of the year, whatever they don't spend goes into that.
Hmm.
That they can carry over year to year, but they've tried a couple times in the Board of Finance both times. As recently as last year.
Yeah.
Said no.
Okay.
Okay, Last call for anything else? All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, no, one more. I'm sorry. We have number 3, public forum. There's nobody here, so I just want to say there's no public forum. And number 4, now you can go.
Make a motion to adjourn at 5:09.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Great. Yeah.